Ahlan wa sahlan. Right now we're going to talk about passive participles in Arabic, what we call in the language ism al-maf'ul. A passive participle is sort of the opposite of an active participle. When we say a passive participle, we mean a word derived from a verb that is the person or thing that the verb is being done to. For example, if I said in English, the letter is written, written could be considered a passive participle as opposed to a writer, which would be an active participle, both of them returning to the verb to write. The opposite of ism al-maf'ul, the passive participle, is called in Arabic ism al-fa'il, and there's a separate video on ism al-fa'il that you can go and review if you like. I've put them here just so you can compare the two. Notice that they're both named for the wazn, the pattern that we use to create those participles from a form 1 verb. So you can compare with the conjugated present tense verbs too if you like. You can find a chart online, or any good Arabic textbook will have one. But basically we just apply this wazn, this particular set of short vowels and consonants, and we can create a new verb. So for example, a form 1 verb, يطبخ, meaning to cook, or he cooks in this conjugation. But if I want to talk about something being cooked, like cooked or uncooked food, I could take the judr, the 3-letter root, and then apply this wazn that I have right here. And I wind up with matbukh, which means cooked. Another form 1 verb that you probably know, yaktub. Again, I just extract that 3-letter judr and I put it into this wazn, and I get maktub, which means written. In context, often in Arabic, maktub can refer specifically to fate, that which is written in the book of life, and in certain colloquial Arabics, maktub is a perfectly normal word for a letter, a thing that is written. You'll notice that with forms 2 through 10 here, the only difference most of the time between the active participle and the passive participle is a vowel shift, where we have a kasra on the second to last letter of the judr. In ism al-fa'il, we have a fatha on the second to last letter of ism al-maf'ul. So if you have ism al-fa'il kind of memorized as a pattern, and you should, then it should be a very short and easy logical jump. You basically, if you know one, already know the other. You just have to remember that that vowel shift occurs. So let's take another example. A form 2 verb, yufaddil. In the present tense, it means something like to prefer. If we take this judr, and we know it's a form 2 verb because we have the shadda here and we have the vowel pattern with the dhamma, fatha, and kasra, so I can recognize it as form 2, and then I put it into my form 2 ism maf'ul wazn, I get mufaddal. Oops. Which you might recognize as a word you know. It means favorite. If I were talking about my favorite book or my favorite TV show, I could say kitabi al-mufaddal, my favorite book, etc. Another example, there's a form 8 verb, intadhara. That's in the past, meaning wait, to wait for something. Now, if we take it and we put it into its ism maf'ul pattern here, we get muntadhar. And muntadhar kind of means awaited, or perhaps in English in most contexts, a more elegant usual way would be to say expected or anticipated. So if we're awaiting results of a test, or if we're awaiting response from an individual or something, muntadhar might be an adjective that we could apply in those situations. One other important function of ism al-maf'ul in Arabic is to serve as ism al-makan for forms 2 through 10. There's a separate video on ism al-makan in form 1 that you can go and watch. It's basically a place name. We can create a word meaning the place where such and such a verb happens. So in form 1, there's a distinct pattern, maf'al, which you can go and learn about elsewhere, but ism al-maf'ul is used for these derived forms. So a word that you may have heard me say before comes from the verb ibtada'a, meaning to begin, and that's a form 8 verb. So if we put it into ism al-maf'ul, we get a word that means kind of place of beginning. Mubtada. And more specifically, the beginning of a nominal sentence, a jumla ismiya in Arabic, is called al-mubtada, because that's where the sentence begins, with that noun. Or another nice example is from the verb istashfa, which means to seek a cure. Well, if we're sick and we seek a cure, where do we go? We go to the mustashfa. We go to the hospital, perhaps. Some awzan, because of the way that they affect the meaning of the judr, don't tend to create productive asma maf'ul. For example, form 7 is already passive by its very nature. We can take an active form 1 verb and make it passive by putting it into form 7. So we don't tend to see productive asma maf'ul in form 7. It would sort of be doubly passive in a way that rendered it meaningless. Similarly, in form 9, since form 9 has to do with being or becoming certain things, being or becoming blue, being or becoming squinty-eyed, something like that, we don't really have a productive ism maf'ul in those patterns. The really important takeaway here, as with ism al-fa'il, is that you can really create an ism maf'ul from any verb that you know, with the exceptions that we just mentioned. And that kind of increases your net vocabulary, if you think about it. If you think of all the verbs that you know and can use, it increases your effective vocabulary by 10 or 20%, let's say. So that's a really, really compelling reason to get these patterns under your belt, to get comfortable with them, and to start to seek them out and recognize them in Arabic language content that you expose yourself to. Because the more practice that you get with that, the more you will become comfortable with creating your own effective vocabulary on the fly, and the more quickly you will be able to recognize the meaning of a word with the help of the pattern that the word is in. So definitely spend some quality time thinking about these concepts and just observing, seeing where you can find them out and about in the real world.